breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson. He does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy. We have to talk about all that we got at the trade deadline with him, and we're going to take a look at a few games for Tuesday, but there was a lot happening at the deadline. We're going to recap all those moves with him in segment number 2. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_D1. Keep in mind, large CM, they mean does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had ourselves a great day of baseball on Monday. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Philadelphia Phillies get the job done by a count of 6-5 on 5 hits as Andrew Alvarez pretty solid in this start. 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings, but the bullpen shock, surprise, gives it away for the Washington Nationals as Clayton Beeter, he got beaten as Tom Cosgrove put a pair of men on base. He got 2 outside the bullpen. He gave up 2 runs. Clayton Beeter, he gave up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning as you had a grand slam by Derek Hill, his 9th home run of the campaign, and Bryce Harper off a Beeter, 24th home run of the campaign. And then Eddie Yean gives you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Aaron Nola continues to not be super. He gave up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings, including 2 home runs down Lyle, 14th home run of the season, then home run number 1 of the series. And if I'm not mistaken, the career of the young first baseman and Abimelech, hopefully got that correct, Ortiz, so congratulations to him. From there, the Phillies are able to take care of business. Kyle Backus, Ryan Kirkering, Yohan Rodon, they're all able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they've got the best record out there in the American League. They maintain that 13-9. They take down the Colorado Rockies. Just an absolutely abysmal start here for Michael Lorenzen. He gives up 7 runs over the course of 3 innings with Take a Deep once as Junior Caminero gets home run number 31 of the campaign. He'll get home run number 32 of the campaign a little bit later on, along with Richie Palacios. Those both come off of Tanner Gordon. And long relief goes 6 innings, so he really ate it for them. Gave up 6 runs, 4 of which were earned. Ian Seymour, solid start here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Would give up a home run as he was cranked deep by Ezekiel Tovar, 9th home run season. And Mickey Moniak, he was able to get his 18th. That comes off of Michael Grove, the former Dodger. 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up in 2 innings by him. Casey Lugumina does give up 4 runs at 2/3 of an inning, but Kevin Kelly gets the final out of the game on 1 pitch. Should be able to get that one to the window. For the Yankees, they played probably the wildest game of the night. They were down by a count of 6-0 going into the 5th inning. They claw away and they get up 7-6 going into the 8th inning just to give up 7 runs in the 8th inning and lose by a count of 13-7. Just so many home runs in this game. Michael McGreevy, he gave up 1 bomb, only made it 4 1/3 innings, but not a bad start here. Gives up 2 runs. Justin Brule from there gives up a solo home run in 1 2/3 innings. You had Ryan Stanek give up 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. He gave up a pair of bombs of his own. George Soriano gives up a home run, 1 run in total in 2/3 of an inning. Gordon Gaseffa was able to hold down the fort. He was able to give you 2 shutout for the Cardinals, and Cam Schluttler, well, he was not long for this game. He gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings as he allows a home run of his own. Tim Hill, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. He gives up a home run. You had from there Ryan Yarbrough give up a run in an inning. No home runs given up by him. And Kervin Castro, he did have 5 outside the bullpen scoreless for the Yankees, but then Anel Chavili gives up 3 bombs, 6 runs in total in that horrible 8th inning, and he only made it 1 inning. Fernando Cruz from there, a scoreless inning, and going deep for the Cardinals. How about Alec Burleson? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. 16th, 17th, and 18th home runs of the season. Jimmy Crooks, his 4th of the campaign. Nathan Church, his 9th. On the flip side for the Yankees, Trent Grisham, his 12th. Luis Garcia, newly acquired, 24th home run season. Jared Calabreo, his 12th. Ryan McMahon, his 10th. And then Austin Wells hits it Wells for his 8th home run of the campaign. much lower scoring out there in Arlington. As for the Giants, they get a 5-1 win over the Rangers. Cal Quantrill, 3 runs given up in 4 innings. He only gives up 1 of those earned, as there were, I believe, 5 errors out there in the field by the Rangers. Rough there. He would give up a home run along the way, as he had Jungle Lee get his 7th home run season. Then later on off of Peyton Gray, he gets his 8th home run season. Gray gives up a home run in his inning of work. Brandon Peoples gives you a scoreless inning. And then you had the newly acquired from the KBO, Nolan Kingman, be able to give you a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, Logan Webb, he had the Rangers in his web. 6 shutout innings. From there, Keaton Wynn, Sam Antiges, they combined for 2 shutout innings. Tristan Beck would give up a home run to Ezekiel Duran, 13th home run season. Got 1 out, gave up that 1 run, but Revier San Martin was able to give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels, so the Giants get that one in. Being able to get this one in, the Pittsburgh Pirates, 4-3. They take down the Milwaukee Brewers. Brandon Sproat, not the starter that he was looking for. 4 runs allowed in 3 innings. Bullpen from there was good. Aaron Ashby, 2 shutout innings. Chad Patrick, scoreless inning. Garrett Stallings was able to give you 3 shutout. Bubba Chandler, he did have his walks problems with 4 walks, but 3 runs, 2 of which were in 5 2/3 innings. Gregory Soto, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Camilo Udoval, Mason Montgomery, they were both able to end a scoreless inning. For the Toronto Blue Jays, been a rough season for them, but they find a way against the Astros. 3-1 the final here. As for Toronto, Shane Bieber had a fever for getting outs. 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Braden Fisher, Tyler Rogers, both give you a scoreless inning. Brandon Little, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels, all 4 outs via strikeout. And Christian Javier gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. Taken deep by, don't call his name, Alejandro Kirk. 4th home run of the campaign. And Tatsuya Amai, now coming out of the bullpen. 3 shutout innings, but damage by then had been done. For the Chicago Cubs, they take it to the LA Dodgers. This by a count of 10-5. Matthew Boyd, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in 6 2/3 innings. Gives up a pair of bombs. Teoscar Hernandez, 11th home run season. Tommy Edman is 3rd, but good enough to get the win as Justin Robelski. Regression was coming for him, and boy, did it come here. 7 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Take it deep 4 times. Carson Kelly, 7th home run of the season. Michael Busch, 14th. Seiya Suzuki, I see you with your 19th home run of the season. Then you had a home run number 1 of the season for Kevin Alcantara. From there, you had Edgar Enriquez give up 3 runs over the course of an inning. Tanner Scott was great. Scott with a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Jonathan Hernandez, 2 scoreless innings. Meanwhile, for the Cubs, the bullpen is able to hold down the fort. Trent Thornton, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and the Woodford, Jake Woodford, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. Then in the nightcap, it was the Arizona Diamondbacks getting a 5-1 win over the Slam Diego Padres. Brandon Pfaadt, his team is now 7-0 since he returned to the rotation. Another great start. 1 unearned run given up in 6 2/3 innings. Juan Murillo, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Braden Garcia, scoreless inning. Michael King, he was the king of taking a loss. Not bad here. He did give up 4 walks, but 3 runs allowed in 5 innings. Was cranked deep by Tim Tewa, 5th home run of the campaign. Yuki Matsui and Jeremiah Estrada combined for 2 shutout innings. Wadi Peralta gives up 2 runs in the 8th inning, so the Diamondbacks now 60-53. And if you're taking a look at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, starting to have an underwhelming season. 838 unders, 810 overs, and I believe we've now had 42 pushes along the way, so we're starting to get a lot of unders. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56.2%, 923 and 718 on the money line. Among those 923 favorites, 228 have failed to cover the run line over the last 7 days. The favorites on the money line hitting at 61.3%, 57 and 36, but 20 of those favorites failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, we've seen 36 overs, 55 unders, and 2 pushes along the way, over 60.4% to the under. Last 30 days, under rate is right around about 56.3%, 196 unders, 152 overs, and that serves me correct, we've had right around about 12 pushes along the way, and then favorites on the money line hitting at 57.5%, 200 and 148, but 59 of those favorites failed to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Jumping next, let's chat it up with our good friend Rob Donaldson of Underdog Fantasy right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by this man, as we've got Rob Donaldson aboard. He does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that all 12 months out of the year, he's doing a great job taking a look at college basketball and so much more. He's over at Underdog Fantasy. He's over on his YouTube feed at Rob Donaldson on the YouTube feed as well with the show Rob's Best Bets, and on Twitter/X at RobDFB altogether. And it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. Obviously, obviously we're coming off of a crazy deadline. The deadline's always crazy, even if we don't see like the Grom trade or the Mike Trout trade on the day of or whatever it may be. There's still so many players changing and shifting, prospects being acquired, prospects being called up as a result of, teams selling off the house. And so it's really awesome this time of year because it just kind of breathes new life into the sport. And I would say that this deadline just didn't disappoint.
Yep, with regards to the deadline, we had a big move with Tariq Skubal. That obviously happened on Saturday. We had a bunch of, shall we say, more mid-tier moves with the likes of Dustin May, Freddie Peralta, what have you. And just when you take a look back at this trade deadline, what was your biggest thoughts of it? Because it felt like the sellers really, really, really wanted to sell, but it also felt like there were some teams that sort of stayed neutral, like the Toronto Blue Jays trading Kevin Gausman away and then acquiring Jose Soriano. I thought was very intriguing.
I feel like it was a very mixed bag. I think some teams really did a good job of just kind of, going for it. I admire, what the Padres do every year in terms of, hey, they know that they're going to open the bag in free agency for somebody. And so they do kind of look at prospects as a way of acquiring guys to make them competitive now. I always kind of like that approach. Obviously, that's the Dodgers approach as well. But to go out and get Robbie Ray and obviously Casey Mize as well, and really only give up, like, in terms of the prospects they traded away, Cash Mayfield was really the one that I looked at as like the one big piece that they moved. All the rest of it, in terms of their farm system, was kind of well intact. So I really commend teams for making those moves because I look at a team like the Brewers, for example, and the last couple days, all I've heard is, the Brewers are a factory. They need their prospects to survive. But in my view, they're a little bit of cowards when it comes to they could have offered a better package for Tariq Skubal than what ended up actually landing Tariq Skubal. I didn't like the fact that they don't go out there and make that move. Personally, I feel like a lot of teams, like even the Braves, I would throw in there as a little bit cowardice in terms of trading away top prospects, just hoarding prospects instead of going for it. So really mixed bag, but ultimately I think those two big things kind of ruled the day.
Yep, and what did you make of the Milwaukee Brewers still making a move? They go out there and they get Dustin May, which I think that this is actually a really good move for them. I was wanting them to get Joe Ryan. The Twins obviously did not part with him, and the Twins actually bought a little bit at the trade deadline, but I do think that's intriguing for a Brewers team that I really thought that they needed a bat, and they really didn't address that at the deadline.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's just going to be kind of another Brewers postseason where they have a lineup that if it just had one or two more pieces, I would feel a lot better about it. And same with rotation. Obviously, Mizorowski can go out there and win you any game he's involved in. But after him, I mean, are you really going to rely on 24-year-old Logan Henderson or Brandon Sproat or Shane Drohan or maybe Dustin May is that second in command? But I'll tell you, if you're going up against the Dodgers in the NLCS and Dustin May is going up against a Tariq Skubal, going up against a Yamamoto, going up against literally 4 or 5 guys in that rotation who are obviously better than Dustin May, I mean, good luck. That's ultimately what's going to come down to. And so when you look at rosters on paper, baseball is a great sport because really anything can happen, especially in low-scoring affairs, especially in October when the margins are so slim. But it does feel like on paper, the Brewers aren't the best team in the NL. It felt like they could have kind of risen up to potentially be competitive as one of the best teams in the NL. And I feel like, honestly, during this trade deadline, teams surpassed them on the paper side. And that's a little bit unfortunate, I would say, if you're a Brewers fan.
Yep, certainly it is. I do think that Dustin May is going to be really good for them, but going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward with them as Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And one other team I think is interesting, the Arizona Diamondbacks, because they're a team that they pretty much sat on their hands here at the trade deadline. I think that they maybe picked up like 1 or 2 very small pieces. They picked up Lars Nootbaar, which I thought that was pretty solid, but past that, they really didn't do a ton. I want to get your thoughts on them because they're a team that if the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs. They've got a huge game against the San Diego Padres on Tuesday that they're rising up the standings. They bought at the deadline, as you mentioned, with one Mr. Robbie Ray. We'll see if he starts on Tuesday, Wednesday, what have you. But I think the Diamondbacks are a very intriguing team moving forward.
100%. And ultimately, I think that addition of Lars Nootbaar, maybe in the short term, when you're talking about Max Kepler being involved and him actually having a really good run of things, it's not going to make a huge impact. But as you know, Greg, Max Kepler can't play in this postseason. So when it does come postseason time and that bat that you've been relying on as that lefty kind of power in your lineup, or at least just kind of the left-handed side of the plate consistency, it's not going to be there, and now you got Lars Nootbaar, and you can pull Ildemaro Vargas off the bench if need be as kind of that extra little kind of left-handed bat in the lineup to pair with a Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo, and obviously, they need that in the postseason because of how many bullpen arms are leveraged, how many rotations are kind of used, and to neutralize both sides of the plate. So ultimately, I think the Arizona Diamondbacks, despite not making a ton of moves, made some pretty good moves, and ultimately it's just going to come down to a lot of factors of their young pitching staff, some of these kind of young guys that they've integrated really just kind of rising to the occasion and developing as the season goes on here.
Yep, it is going to be very interesting to take a look at them. And how do you look at a team in the Cardinals where it felt like this could be the year for them to make a playoff push? They trade away Dustin May. They trade away Lars Nootbaar. They did pick up a piece or two for the bullpen, but I do think that it's going to be very fascinating to see what we get out of them moving forward as well.
And I'm a big Cardinals fan, and it was kind of a shock to the system when Chaim Bloom comes in, taking over for Mo Mozeliak, this offseason as the president of baseball operations. And he immediately just goes out and says, yep, this is the first year of the true rebuild. Because I'll tell you, as a Cardinals fan all of my life, going back to 1997, I don't think I've ever heard that word come out of a Cardinals anything mouth. So this is kind of the weird thing of I didn't know how the season was going to go, but I'll tell you, they're well ahead of schedule with the emergence of Jordan Walker, with the Rookie of the Year potentially in J.J. Weatherholt, with Alec Burleson coming to his own, with Ivan Herrera becoming an all-star, with just a lot of players really kind of emerging onto the scene. I mean, Kyle Leahy over the past 7 starts or so has been one of the best pitchers in all of the sport. So, it's been a lot of really bright spots for the Cardinals, and with that young core still in real tact, I mean, it's going to be a great back half of the year, or at least a growing back half of the year for those young pieces. And ultimately, I feel like the Cardinals, when you're talking about a true rebuild, you got to stock up. And usually it's kind of the stocking up in the AA portion. I kind of felt like they did that. I felt like they really got some good prospects to be excited about, to add to their farm system that's already very strong. Maybe they're not going to be more competitive as a result of this deadline, but I'll tell you, they're going to be a fun team to watch during the back half just because of how many young players they have in the fold.
Yep, no question about it, as we've got our good friend Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, join me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And I thought that it was really interesting what happened with regards to the Chicago Cubs as well. They went out there and they certainly were buyers. They bring in their Kevin Gausman. I know that there are some other rumors that are out there as well as to what we all got, because we're still trying to sort through all of it. But Clay Holmes is another guy that it was on the move as well. What do you make out of the Cubs, who really needed some starting pitching, and they were able to get some?
Yeah, and ultimately they were getting rumored with Reed Detmers, and then all of a sudden it was Braxton Garrett within like the same minute. So just to kind of speaking to the craziness of every single trade deadline cycle, yeah, there was certainly a bit of that. And the way I view the Cubs as well is obviously they did add Clay Holmes, they did add Braxton Garrett, but they are a team that's going to be getting back Ben Brown to the fold, who is by far, in terms of just on-field performance this season, he has been their best pitcher. And so that's going to be a huge get back when he does come back. Edward Cabrera, we will see what that timeline looks like. Justin Steele, if there's anything left in the tank after so many IL stints, I mean, we're going to see that there too. But kind of to your point, they needed to have guaranteed pitching availability. They went out there and they've acquired it over recent weeks, even going back to like the Aaron Savali trade, which who knows if he's part of a postseason roster. But right now he's just eating innings on the back end and doing a fine enough job for what he's being asked to do. And ultimately, when you're talking about the Cubs, it's all been about the bats all season long for them. If the offense isn't going, they haven't been winning very many games. Well, as of late, they have been red hot because they have an MVP candidate who's leading off the order. So ultimately, I think the Cubs are going to be competitive all the way through. Are they the best team in the NL? No, I wouldn't even go that far in terms of, putting them in the same tier as the Dodgers or even a tier below the Dodgers. But they are a team that on a 3 or 5 game series, can probably beat anybody in this sport, and that's all you really want to be when it comes to October.
Yep, it certainly is. And man, when it comes to the Chicago Cubs, they were a team that really went for it. And I also like the fact that the White Sox did as well. Luis Castillo is a wily veteran, which, I mean, is he going to be the guy that takes them to the promised land? I don't think so, but still, it was a nice upgrade for a team that's been throwing out their Eric Fetty Wap and Anthony Kay 2 out of every 5 days. So that's going to be able to help out a little bit. They pick up Oscar Brisbane. They didn't need a ton for the lineup. They really didn't pick up a ton there, but for the Chicago White Sox, I did like the fact that they were buyers.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about this deadline, Greg, that honestly, I should have said this on the front end as kind of a major takeaway was we were seeing like quality MLB contributors in this deadline, whether it was a rental or whether it was a guy with 2 years of control, kind of going for just not top prospects, but kind of middle of the road prospects. And the White Sox were able to keep their awesome farm system pretty much for the most part intact. I mean, when you're talking about their quality guys down in AAA of, you know, the David Sandlins, the Hagen Smiths, the Tanner McDougalls, they kept all those guys in the fold. They still have Caleb Bonnemer, who I'm very, very excited about in the next 2 seasons here. And it was kind of the best of both worlds. We're seeing a deadline where guys are getting acquired that can impact this season, and you already have a strong nucleus that's maybe 2 or 3 players away from being legitimately World Series contenders. I'm glad the White Sox went for it. The last 2 series that they played were against the Yankees and the Rays. They looked very competitive in those series. They split both of them. That's against 2 of the best teams, or the 2 best teams rather, in the AL. That's a great barometer check, and they lived up to it. So, yeah, to your point, I'm really glad the White Sox went all in and kind of got some trades done here.
I'm right there with you, and I do think that it's going to be really interesting to take a look at some of these other teams as well. And I have to point out my biggest disappointment of the trade deadline. The Orioles just completely sold. They give away Adley Rutschman. They trade away a few others. What do we make of the Orioles, who they've actually played some good baseball over last month as well? Like, we were talking about them perhaps being buyers, and then they sell away almost everything.
Life as a Baltimore Orioles fan is brutal, Greg. It's just
not so charming in the Charm City.
No, I can't remember. Like true excitement was when this core of, you know, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Adley Rutschman, even Anthony Santander, Grayson Rodriguez, Tyler Wells, Kyle Bradish, they had so much optimism. Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo. I mean, you can go down the list of what people really thought, even going into this season, was going to be a top 3 Major League Baseball offense, Greg. It has not turned into that, and even the longest of stretches. Yeah, now it was like a question this deadline of whether they're going to even ship off like a Jackson Holiday or a Gunnar Henderson. They got rid of the Adley Rutschman, and honestly, I think they got a fair return for Adley Rutschman, but it speaks to the fact of they're not playing for this year. They're not even playing for next year based on that move because the prospects are so far away from the bigs. They're kind of now in another pseudo rebuild, and my goodness, I feel sorry for the Baltimore Orioles fans of kind of believing in the process and watching it blow up in their face without even a single playoff win with that core.
Yeah, I really question Mike Elias. If you're looking at GMs in the sport, he's not one of the better ones. That's about as politely as I can put it. Not one of the better ones, as our good friend Rob Donaldson. He is one of the better ones. He does an amazing job looking at the sport. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and we've got a lot of interesting games are going to be going down for Tuesday because right now half the board is TBD, and we're going to be seeing the debut of Tariq Skubal for the Dodgers going up against the Cubs. He's a -$2 favorite, total of 8.5 to 9. What do you make out of Skubal making his first start with the Dodgers, going up against a guy in Javier Assad who's been honestly not posting up a bad ERA, but boy, I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out on him.
That's how it goes with Javier Assad almost every single year, where initially to start the year, because he's not really kind of levied with high expectations, he starts out like, okay, he's cruising. He has like 5 and 6 innings pitched, 1 earned ball, and that's all the Cubs really need out of basically a spot starter in the rotation that gets paralleled between AAA and Major League Baseball all throughout the year. But then once he gets into this groove, the expectations rise, and that's where the bottom tends to fall out for Javier Assad. And ultimately, I think the big actual angle here, and I feel this way even about the Padres, the Red Sox, teams that have made those aggressive moves at the deadline. I always love fading them in some capacity the next time out, because even if it is a Tariq Skubal scenario of the Dodgers are better than life, they're being priced like they're better than life times two. And I always kind of look at that as just, hey, push on the brakes. This is still baseball any given day. It's not like Tariq Skubal hasn't gone up there and gotten shelled this year at any point as well. And so ultimately, do I think he's going to have a bad outing? Probably not, but if the Cubs can score 2 or 3 runs against him, I think it's anybody's ball game. Go ahead and give me the Cubs on the run line and the full game money line. I tend to really like these angles post-trade deadline.
Yep, and I think that we might get one with the Cardinals. Right now, there's not a lot of betting lines listed on this game. I'm right now seeing them at a plus 140 on the one initial opener, but it's Ryan Weathers most likely going against Andre 3000 Palante, and we saw the Cardinals absolutely destroy Cam Schlittler yesterday, and the Cardinals, I don't know what it is with them. They are last in the National League in terms of scoring when they're at home. Away from home, they're a top 4 offense in all of baseball. I think we might be getting some value here on the Cardinals, who got steamed against yesterday and proved everyone wrong.
100%, because I'll tell you what happens in terms of the trade deadline is, these are human beings, right? They're not robots. They don't know where they're going to be living the very next day when we're talking about the start of Monday. Am I going to get traded? This is a team that's being sold. Alec Burleson, for example, was a name that was getting floated out the trade deadline. Well, he went yard off Cam Schlittler when he did get that breath of fresh air and knew that he was going to remain a Cardinal. That does have a serious impact, especially because that trade deadline, it looms for weeks. We kind of confine it to 2 or 3 days for the most part to see kind of these bulks amount of deals, but they're hearing these rumors. They're potentially getting asked by the media of, do you want to get traded? Do you want to add pieces? That's a pressure that you can't really quantify on a spreadsheet or through analytics. And so ultimately, I do feel like a team like the Cardinals that now has a very clear vision of who they are, what the roster is going to look like, can take it against, a guy like a Ryan Weathers, who is a guy that can get easily tagged up by the type of bats that the Cardinals have. So yeah, I really do love the Cardinals for tomorrow, and I think this series for the Cardinals could actually end up being a really good one.
Yep, and I do think that for the Cardinals, they might be able to lend a lot of value moving forward. They sold a few pieces, but they certainly didn't sell the farm, so that I think is going to be very big as well. And then one favorite I'm liking, the Atlanta Braves are right around minus 135 against the Miami Marlins. Now, the Braves were a little bit less aggressive than I expected, but this should be Ryan Gusto here for the Miami Marlins. I recognize that Grant Holmes has not been the Mona Lisa Vito of pitching, but the Braves have a good bullpen. The Braves are getting back Ronald Acuna Jr., even though they didn't buy too much. I didn't need them to buy a lot to know that minus 135 at home against Miami Marlins feels pretty good here.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the Marlins, their issue all season has been the bullpen, because they can hit off righties. Like, I expect Grant Holmes to not, escape unscathed in this game. But when you also remove Liam Hicks from the lineup, who I think was the outside of Kyle Stowers, the biggest impact bat, and Otto Lopez, just one of the bigger impact bats in this lineup, well, that means something. And also, the Marlins went ahead and actually traded away one of their bullpen pieces in Luke Botcher. They got back a Victor Vodnik in a different trade. I don't know what exactly they're doing, but they're going to be without both of those guys tomorrow as well. So if you want to talk about a bad bullpen in an even worse state without one of their best premium hitters in the lineup, yeah, I'm going to take a shot here with the Braves on a lot of different alternate run lines, because ultimately when the Marlins are in that 7th or 8th inning, if Gusto can't go deep here, I think the Marlins are going to be in deep trouble.
Yep, and I want to get your thoughts on the rest of the board. Anything else that's really standing out? Because one to me is the Diamondbacks with Eduardo Rodriguez opening up at minus 122 with the Padres. Right now, not having a set starter, they've been like poo-poo plattering like Griffin Canning, Kyle Hurt, Randy Vasquez, JP Sears. I just saved off 4 names, and if we get any of those 4 names, I love Eduardo Rodriguez here.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. I'm going to actually take you over to a team that turned out to be buyers, like legitimate buyers in terms of shoring up where they needed to shore up, and that was the bullpen. I'm talking about the Pirates here, and when you're talking about Jared Jones, the crazy thing about this is dating back to the start of June, he's been far better than Paul Skeens. I don't know if you had that on your bingo card, Greg, but and to be fair, I mean, there was a series of 14 innings or so where Jared Jones actually had perfection in a row. He was pulled in one start when he was 7 innings deep or 6 innings deep. that hurt my soul. But the next time he kept it going, and he was building off the previous time of allowing, no hits, no runs, no batters on base. He's just been awesome, really, from the kind of the get-go of kind of getting off that snide of the injury bug. First 3 outings weren't great, but since then, he's been fantastic. I really like that the Pirates potentially are going to have some bullpen pieces available. I think he's been great as well. Yeah, the Brewers were kind of that tentative buyer at the deadline, but they didn't do much in terms of kind of shoring up the lineup. Really, well, they didn't shore up the lineup at all. They just added pitching. So I'm going to take a shot here with the Pirates with the plus price. Just kind of another example of kind of fading the team that made the moves, but maybe didn't make the right moves, in my opinion.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And man, we've got some interesting games that are going to be going down for Tuesday. It's a big old TBD as to who's all going to be out there on the field or not. It's good, clean family fun, and that's what we're all here for. And I know you, my friend, are doing such an amazing job looking at this amazing game of baseball. Rob, let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, hey, Greg, it's been a long season already. We still got a fair bit to go, and now we got brand new teams to be looking at along the way as well. And, for those who want to follow my Major League Baseball bets on an everyday basis, Twitter/X at RobDFB, and also my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rob Donaldson. But as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
Always great to be able to have Rob aboard every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. He did so once again today, so big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. Also does some great work over at Underdog Fantasy. So a big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, in time order, then the American League games, also in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, but if we get things started, this is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. It is the Washington Nationals, and they are going to be on the road. They're facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies as Zach Littell looks to come up big for the Nationals. Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phillies. Phillies, massive favorites, -220 to -240, in between +186 to +$2. That number on Washington, if you're looking to lay around half, by the way, with the Phillies, much more affordable, -105 to -110. Totals between 8.5 and 9. On the 8.5, overs -120, the unders even. On the 9, unders -120, and the overs even. I did set my total at a 9.1. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. Now, Zach Littell might have an opener come in from. It's about a 50-50 proposition with him at this point. You just never know with the Washington Nationals, but he'll be pitching in some form or capacity. Right now, he's posting up a 4.94 ERA and a 5.94 fielding dependent, still giving up the 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. He's been a little bit better down the stretch. The beginning part of the season was just absolutely brutal for him. So, at the very least, there's been a little bit of progress made. If you look ever since the beginning of the month of May, that ERA has lowered to more like a 3.86. He's been giving up closer to about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. Jesus Luzardo has very much been dealing for the Philadelphia Phillies, a team that was able to get some reinforcements at the trade deadline, but he did give up a 6 spot in his last start against the Miami Marlins, less than savory, but 3.57 ERA, 3.03 fielding dependent, still getting 11 strikeouts and 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. This Nationals team, even though they traded away Luis Garcia and they did deal away Curtis Mead about a week or so ago, they're still mashing. They just in the first inning against the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday against Aaron Nola were able to put up some runs. Actually, first 2 innings, they had 3 runs up on the board. Down Lyle has been able to give you 14 home runs. He's able to move line. So if James Wood, CJ Abrams, these are your main 2 guys. Wood, nearly a 395 on base with 30 home runs. CJ Abrams, 27 bombs. He's been absolutely incredible. Give you you about a 360 on base. And then Nasim Nunez, like 38 stolen bases. Keibert Ruiz is able to move line along with Jose Tena. So I love these guys. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they should be getting Luis Rise in the lineup here. That's going to be big because a lot of these guys have dealt with batting average issues. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, right around about a 360 on base apiece. Schwarber stuck on 33 home runs for quite a while now. Harper, 23 home runs. He's been rock solid, and you have to like what Brandon Marsh brings to the table. 15 plus home runs. He's been hitting over a 280, but it's been a rough year for Alec Baum, Omanda Sosa, those guys in the outfield, Gabriel Roconis, the catcher spot. It's been an issue, and for the Phillies, they have a better bullpen than the Washington Nationals. Nationals are a bottom 2 team in the National League in terms of ERA with that bullpen. Brad Lord being on the injury list has hurt them a lot. BJ Poulin, Clayton Beater has been able to give you some okay innings, but overall it's been a little bit rough there for the Phillies. They bring up Caleb Killian, but I mean, he's got like 4 ERA. Brooks Raley is someone that I like. He, Orion Kirkrango, and Ron. These are guys give you a sub 350 ERA, but they're still relying upon Jose Alvarado as well. So I do feel like this is just too big of a number to lay for the Philadelphia Phillies, with Littell being a little bit better, and with the way that the Nationals mash, I like the over, so I told 9.1 and plus 194 better in on the Nationals money line. 9:53, 9:54 on the card. It is the Marlins, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the Atlanta Braves. We do know that Grant Holmes is going to be on the bump for Atlanta. Right now, it is listed as to be determined for the Miami Marlins. The initial opener that I'm seeing has a total of 9. The over is minus 120. The under is even money. Minus 138, that number on the Atlanta Braves. Plus 118 is that number on the Miami Marlins. This has oftentimes been a case where Ryan Gusto has either been the starter or been a little bit of a bulk guy for the Miami Marlins. That is what I'm fully expecting, and I am in on the Atlanta Braves here. I set this at a minus 177. Ryan Gusto has honestly been a little bit better here recently, but there's not much reason to have a lot of faith in him for Ryan Gusto. Last year, he was posting up an ERA well above a 5. He's back to a 5.31 ERA this season. He's been only allowing 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but 7.8 strikeouts per 9, so that's been a little bit of an issue. You take a look at what he's been able to do when he's been away from home compared to at home. 6.23 road ERA, 4.57 ERA when he is at home, and away from home, he's giving up over 1.25 home runs per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Grant Holmes, he has been worse than what his ERA would indicate, but still, he's been able to do a nice job holding down the 4.388 ERA, closer to 5.10 fielding dependent. 1.6 home runs, 4 walks per 9 innings, but he does get to go up against a Miami Marlins team that has been a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Like, you've got plenty of guys that move the line for this team, as it's been a great season for Otto Lopez, who's been hitting above 300, and then he, Jacob Marcy, Xavier Edwards, Esteury Ruiz, all these guys have been able to give you 18 plus stolen bases. They really didn't trade too much at the trade deadline. They didn't pick up much, but hey, at the very least, they were able to maintain. Now, the bullpen has been an issue for the team. They pick up Victor Vodnik, but he, Calvin Fauché, Pete Fairbanks, all these guys north of 350 ERA. Michael Peterson, great name. He's been dealing with injury, but he's back. He and John King have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but this is an Atlanta Braves team that's currently number 1 in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. Didn't do a ton to revamp it at the trade deadline, but they didn't need to. Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, Horacio Iglesias, DDA Fuentes, all these guys give you a sub 325 ERA, dealing with the injury to Robert Suarez. But when it comes to the lineup of the Atlanta Braves, top 8 team in terms of run creation, Jim Jarvis is not going to hit for a lot of power, but he's been moved line. He, Mauricio Dubon, Ozzy, Albies, Matt Olson. You just go down the list of guys that are in that neighborhood of like a 260 to a 270. And in the case of Olson, obviously, he's been banging out the deep ball, 31 home runs. Albies is up to 18 plus home runs. Drake Baldwin, 20 home runs. He's been able to give you right around about a 350 on base. These guys are all rock solid, and now you get Ronald Acuna Jr. back in the fold as well. Do think that you get some domination here by the Braves. Did something I told it at 8.8 with the way that the Marlins are not necessarily hitting the deep ball, so do like that 9 to the under, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Braves on the money line. 955, 956 on the card. The Pirates walk the plank. They're going to be on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Logan Henderson goes for the Brew Crew, and it is Mr. Jared Jones going for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 7.5 is the total. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Minus 150 to minus 164 is that number on the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're going to be finding the Buccos anywhere between plus 130, seeing as good as a plus 147 out there as well, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Pirates. I was willing to go at a plus 147 or better. Logan Henderson is a guy that has really been knocking my socks off this year, and I did like what the Brewers did at the trade deadline, picking up both Jojo Romero along with Dustin May. Don't think that Romero's going to be available for this series. He's been dealing with a little bit of injury, but hey, for the Brewers, that's another great piece because they do have a top 3 bullpen in terms of ERA in the National League. Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, Grant Anderson, Chad Patrick, so many guys give you a sub-365 ERA. They also picked up Antonio Senzatella. Again, probably won't be in the fold for this game, but he should be moving forward. Logan Anderson, probably not going to need a ton. 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, 266 ERA, 280 fielding dependent, but Jared Jones has really been good here recently as well. And he had a little bit of a problem with the deep ball towards the beginning part of the season, and the ERA is still not the lowest at 381, but 348 fielding dependent. Man has now given up only 6 runs across his last 5 starts, so he's really been able to do a good job in terms of rocking and rolling. And when it comes to hitting the road for Jared Jones, it's not like his numbers see like any sort of a fall off. As a matter of fact, they get better. 343 ERA with 2 home runs allowed in 21 innings on the road this far this season. Now the bullpen is rough. They pick up Camilo Duvall at the trade deadline. That's not really going to do a whole heck of a lot for you, but still, it is a bunch I don't think is going to need to go to it as much. They pick up Kirby Yates as well, so that should be able to give them a little bit of something. Carmen Molchinski is a good long guy, and this is a Pirates team that has been a top 4 team in terms of run creation. Jacob Gonzalez has been a steady shortstop more than Jared Trollo has been. They're still dealing with the injury to Oneil Cruz, and having Ryan O'Hearn out does hurt, but as Marildan Valdez has given you a home run every about 11 at-bats, over a 340 on base. Brian Reynolds over a 380 on base. Nick Gonzalez has been a guy that's been able to do a nice job hitting about a 300. They're getting back Spencer Horwitz with over a 360 on base. Should point out they also got Luke Weaver in the trade deadline as well, and when it comes to the Brewers, this is a top 6 team in terms of run creation. You've been able to have a lot of these guys just do a nice job small balling you to death. Bryce Terang, along with Jackson Chirrillo, William Contreras, Jake Bowers, lying between about a 270 to a 276, and other than Chirrillo, pretty much all these guys have north of a 330 on base. As a matter of fact, Chirrillo does have a 331 on base. Bowers has been your main power guy with 20 home runs, and for the Brewers, they're a top 6 offense, despite the fact that they're a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis. Andrew Vaughn is hitting darn near 300. You've had Garrett Mitchell be able to do a nice job moving the line, hitting for about a 350 on base, but with the way that Jared Jones is pitching, I do think that this is too big of a number. Set mine at a plus 146, so I'm going to be in on the Pirates at a plus 147 or better on the money line. I do like the over, so my total at 8.2. 957, 958 on the card. It's the Dodgers. They're going to be on the road against the Cubs. Aviad Assad is on the bump for the Cubs, and Tariq Skubal goes for the Dodgers. The Dodgers do find themselves, shocker, as a massive favorite. Minus 186, so minus 210. Averaging plus 170 to plus 180 is our number on the Cubs. Initial totals I'm seeing are between 8.5 and 9 on the 9. Unders minus 120, the overs even on the 8.5. Overs minus 120 and the unders even. And if you look at the wind situation right now at Wrigley, it is going to be blowing out on this Tuesday. Not overly hard. I'm seeing like 6 to 7 or so miles per hour, but that does put me in on the over in this spot. I did set my total at a 9.3, and with Tariq Skubal, he has been, once again, very masterful this year. A 278 ERA, but an even lower 260 fielding dependent strikeout to walk ratio of an 8.3. Took him a few starts to be able to get his bearings about him after he came off the injury list. He's now once again rocking and rolling, but I just think that the LA Dodgers are going to be able to do so much of their part with this total, because right now you've got a guy in Aviad Assad that pitches to a lot of contact. 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, and the ERA of a 375 isn't bad, but a 482 fielding dependent. That is very concerning. You have a Dodgers team that's averaging 5.7 runs per game away from them. That is number 1 in all baseball. Andy Paz has been able to bang out 18 home runs. Max Muncy, 18 plus bombs, over a 350 on base. Freddie Freeman is hitting above 300, 15 home runs. Shohei Ohtani, 24 bombs. So, even with the leg injury, he's been just fine. Mookie Betts over the last 45 days has hit significantly better as well. Teoscar Hernandez seems to be getting online as bomb for the Cubs. This continues to be a top 5 team in terms of run creation. Peaker Armstrong, 24 bombs, over a 375 on base. Alex Bregman has still been a bit of a disappointment this year. Michael Busch maybe doesn't hit for average, but he gives you a 350 on base. Patrick Ramirez is sitting at 300. Dansby Swanson has improved. Again, I think that he's been the beneficiary of a couple big games, but still, he's been a little bit better. Say Suzuki's up to 18 home runs for the Cubs. They're just dealing with so many bullpen issues, and they pick up a few guys at the trade deadline, but is Ryan Zephyrion taking you to the promised land? Probably not. Jacob Webb, Trent Thornton, Ryan Rolson, these are guys give you a sub 350 ERA, and For the Dodgers, we already highlighted the main guy that they got at the trade deadline, but that said, they still have solid bullpen. Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott, these guys have been able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA. Edgar Enriquez has been solid. Edwin Diaz, he comes back off the injury list as a closer, so I do think that the Dodgers do go out there and dominate this game. I set their money line price at a minus 221. Most places have yet to list a total, but the initial run line price I'm seeing is about a minus 128. I'd be willing to go up to about a minus 140 on that run line, and I'm going to be in on this total, so you over. 959, 960 on the card. It's the Slam Diego Padres on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Snakes, and it is hold undecided right now for the San Diego Padres. Minus 122 is that initial number on Arizona, plus 112 for the San Diego Padres. 9.5 is the total. Under is minus 125, and the over is plus 105. I set the Diamondbacks here at a minus 144. I'm going to be in on them on the money line. Now, it's very undecided as to what we're going to be getting here because the San Diego Padres did acquire Robbie Ray, and if you get Robbie Ray here, you might be looking at a little bit more of something, but even if he goes, that's a little bit of an issue here as well. I'm right now projecting Randy Vasquez as your starter. If it is Robbie Ray, I'd still be in on the Arizona Diamondbacks though, because man, for Robbie Ray, he has not been the same pitcher away from home rather than at home. And right now, the projected starter of Randy Vasquez, he's a guy that is pitching to a whole bunch of contact. A 4.45 ERA with a 4.74 fielding dependent, 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Robbie Ray, he's giving up over 1.5 home runs and over a 4 ERA when he is away from home. So either of those guys are going to be an issue. Meanwhile, for Eduardo Rodriguez, he should be experiencing some regression as well. A 2.48 ERA, I have no idea how he's doing it right now. 4.08 fielding dependent. He's pitching to all sorts of contact. 6.1 strikeouts, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, and he does go up against a Padres team that has been better with their offense since All-Star break, and they're averaging about 4.6 runs per game when they are away from them, but still a little bit of a roll of the dice with the offense because just don't have a lot of guys that consistently get on base. Manny Machado's been a little bit better with he, Xander Bogaerts, Seo Sung, and Jake Cronenworth, but all these guys are still hitting below at 225. Fernando Tatis Jr. stuck on 8 home runs. He has been able to give you over a 350 on base. The catcher spot has been all sorts of an issue. They were getting something out of Samad Taylor, but right now he's banged up, might be able to get him back towards the back half of the series. Meanwhile, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they've only got 3 guys on the roster with over 9 home runs. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 19 bombs, hitting at 250. Corbin Carroll, 330 on base, 16 home runs, and then Nolan Arenado, 15 home runs. Now you've got Gabriel Moreno hitting darn near 300, Geraldo Perdomo, about a 350 on base, and I actually like this Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen as well. Got so many guys like Ryan Thompson, Gerald Carrillo, Juan Murillo, Ryan Thompson, you just go down the list of these guys that would be able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Braden Clark, they've been all solid. I just don't trust in Paul Sewald whatsoever. And for the Padres, they didn't sell their bullpen at the trade deadline, so you still have a lot of these guys that are going to be out there, like a Jeremiah Estrada, Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui, obviously Mason Miller. These are all guys that have been pretty rock solid aside from Estrada. All these guys have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. So, like I said, if you do get Randy Vasquez, I set this at a more of a minus 144 for the Diamondbacks. I'd still be at a minus 125, minus 130 with Robbie Ray, and either way, 8.5 or less in on the over, 9 or higher to the under. So initially a 9.5, I'd be willing to take that under, but right now as I am doing this, they are all going to 8.5s and an 8.5, going to be in on the over. And with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm going to be willing to take them in some form of capacity on the money line. 961, 962 on the card. It's the Angels. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Baltimore Orioles. We do know that Trevor Rogers should be getting the start here for the Orioles. Right now, it is undecided for the Angels because this was supposed to be Reed Detmers. Reed Detmers gets traded away at the trade deadline, and right now our good friends over at Fangraphs are projecting Sam Aldigeri right now getting the start for the Angels. And right now with the opening line that I'm seeing on this game, it's minus 130 to minus 132 on the Orioles, plus 110 to plus 112 on the Halos, total of 8.5. Over is minus 115 and the under is minus 105. And even if Trevor Rogers got scratched in the start, I'd still be in on the Orioles. You're still going to get something better than what the Angels are going to be throwing out there. The Angels traded away everything. And for Grayson Rodriguez, you have to think that he's going to be amped up to face off against his old team. He was for the Orioles last few seasons, but man, it just has not been good. He's a power pitcher that's coming off of injury, and now he's down to 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, posting up a 7.98 ERA, 5.82 fielding independent points towards positivity, but 1.8 home runs, 4.3 walks per 9 innings. It has been a brutal run for him. As long as you do get Trevor Rogers in the start, you're staring at something pretty good for the Orioles. Recognize that the Orioles traded away quite a bit at the trade deadline themselves, but I mean, even though he's got a 4.27 ERA this season, closer to a 3.56 fielding independent, 7.3 strikeouts, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he has been much, much better recently. Like, for Trevor Rogers, first few months of the season, things were just absolutely disastrous for him. Things were just not going his way. And you take a look ever since, we're going to call it like early to mid-May, that's when things were really able to start to turn around for him. As a matter of fact, for simplicity, we'll go June 1st. This is his last 10 starts. He's been posting up a 2.21 ERA, 2.54 fielding independent with 2 home runs allowed in 61 innings. And now for the Angels, Joe Adela gets traded away. You trade away a few other of those bats from this team as well, so they're dealing with that. You do still have Mr. Mike Trout and Zach Neto. Both of these guys have been able to give you 18 plus home runs apiece. In the case of Trout, he's been able to give you over a 350 on base, so that should be able to help them out a little bit. But I mean, a lot of these guys are just not guys that are able to move the line, get on base. Ori Soler has been hitting right around about the Mendoza line of 200. You're going to be dealing with Denzar Guzman and his just inconsistency. Wade Meckler has been hitting about a 300. They didn't trade him away at the trade deadline, so yay, verily there. But certainly we have got a little bit of a, shall we say, gutted team right now for the LA Angels. And then on the flip side for the Orioles, they do trade away Adley Rutschman, but he was dealing with an injury to start with. For the O's, he's still been able to get good production out of Pete Alonso, who's been able to give you 20 plus home runs this season. Gunnar Henderson, less than a 295 on base, but he has been able to give you 18 home runs this season. You've got Samuel Basayo, who's been able to give you over 330 on base. They do trade away Taylor Ward, former Angel, ironically enough, but he was only providing 7 home runs, was doing a good job in terms of moving line. You do need some more out of some of these guys, like a Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, a lot of guys at the bottom fold and get 225 or less, but all of a sudden Gunnar Henderson, he's been able to give you over 350 on base. And for the Orioles, this has been a bullpen that has actually been quite rock solid here recently. Ever since June 1st, they have been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Yunier Cano, Andrew Kittredge, Junko Rico Garcia, these have been guys that have been very good recently. Kittredge overall for the season still a 4 ERA, but much better recently. They may or may not have traded away Tyler Wells at the deadline, but even if they did, they still have a nice guy in Albert Suarez. And for the Angels, Chase Silseth is out. You trade away Kirby Yates, and the lone trustworthy pieces are now at the fold. So they're looking at Luke Murphy, probably getting some innings. Sam Bachman is right now dealing with injury. Jose Fermin has been solid, but this is a case where I'm going to be in on the over, so they total at 8.8. And for the Orioles, like them on the money line, set them at a minus 166, 963, 964 on the card. The White Sox are going to be on the road against the Red Sox. In the Battle of Sox, it's the Red Sox who do find themselves as a minus 122 favorite, plus 114 for the White Sox. We know that Davis Martin is going for the White Sox. Undecided right now, listed for the Red Sox. Right now, we're hearing Patrick Sandoval through the grapevine, and right now that over and under are both at minus 110 with a total of 9. And at a plus 114, I'm going to be in on the White Sox. I said it at approximately a plus 114, but I do like this spot for them. For the White Sox, they've been able to get really good production out of Davis Martin all season long, and he has been able to go out there and has pitched better than what his ERA would indicate, in my opinion. Now, for Davis Martin, his ERA has been a little bit north of 4 when he has been away from home. It's a sub 260 when he is at home, but overall, 362 ERA, 311 fielding independent, 0.5 home runs, 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. And if you do indeed get Patrick Sandoval, which the Red Sox made quite a few moves on Monday, so that's a little bit TBD. I mean, he's been fine. 332 ERA, 415 fielding independent, 1.4 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, but getting 9.5 punch-outs per 9 innings. This would just be his 5th start since the beginning of the 2025 campaign because he is dealing with injuries. For the Red Sox, they have been dealing with quite a few ailments as well because they trade for Curtis Mead at the trade deadline, but yeah, he ended up getting injured right away. That was a little bit less than savory, to say the least, but it is a lineup that's really starting to pick it up. Wilson Contreras has been your main man, 23 bombs, about a 390 on base, and then you do have these mix and match guys, Masataka Yoshida, along with a Ceddanne Rafaela, Anthony Siegler, a lot of guys that are posting up right around about a 325 to a 340-ish on base. You've been able to get some good production as well out of Caleb Durbin recently after a miserable start to the season since the beginning of the month of June. He's been able to hit well above a 285, and they pick up Adley Rutschman, who I'm thinking that he's still going to be on the injury list. I'm not projecting him in for this game, but that's going to be up a little bit. And it's a Red Sox bullpen that has been very dominant. They pick up Eric Miller at the trade deadline, Teron Guerrero, Garrett Whitlock, Giovanni Morin, Aroldis Chapman. All these guys have been solid as the Red Sox top 2 team in the American League in terms of bullpen ERA. And for the Chicago White Sox, since June 1st, top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson. These have been guys giving you a sub 325 ERA. They pick up Oscar Brisbane from the Mets. Trevor Richards has been a relatively good long guy, and for the White Sox, continue to be a top 9 team in terms of run creation. Colson Montgomery, Montaka Murakami, Miguel Vargas all have 24 plus home runs this year. Montgomery gives you absolutely no on base whatsoever, but hey, with Vargas a 340 on base, Montgomery, he's been able to give you about a 375 on base. Same Antonacci, 14 stolen bases, 365 on base. Chase Meadroth, nearly a 350 on base. So interesting circumstance here. I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the White Sox on the money line at a plus 114 or better, and it's at a total of an 8.2, so I'm going to be in on that total to the under as well. 965, 966 on the card. It's the Twins. They're going to be on the road against the Royals, as Randy Dobnik is going to be on the bump for the Royals, and Joe Ryan goes for Minnesota. 9 to 9.5 is the total on the 9. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 9.5. Under is minus 120, and the over is even money, and the Twins are between minus 140 to minus 155. Plus 120 to plus 133 is that number on the Kansas City Royals. I'm going to be in on the Twins. I did set this at a minus 142. For Joe Ryan, we thought that he might be getting dealt at the deadline, but hey, the Twins are still in it right now, and Joe Ryan, he's going to be a big part of any sort of playoff run that they hope to make. He's got a 352 ERA, but closer to 344 fielding independent. Had that one disaster start against the Cleveland Guardians where he gives up the 6 home runs, but overall he's been pretty steady in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. 10.1 strikeouts at 1.9 walks per 9 innings, and Randy Dobnik, holy crud, this dude is doing for so much regression. He's right now posting up an ERA that is a sub 150. As a matter of fact, it's a 104, and yet he's getting 4.8 strikeouts at 3.5 walks per 9 innings. His fielding independence more than quadruple his ERA at a 4.17. Yeah, the writing is on the wall here. Now, for the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton has not been himself since coming off the injury list, but still a guy that's been able to give you 25 plus home runs. I believe that he just hit the injury list once again, so that hurt the offense quite a bit even when he was in there. He wasn't really giving you a whole heck of a lot, and it was a case where for the Minnesota Twins, they did add a little bit to the bullpen. They haven't added a ton with regards to lineup or anything like that, but you do have a guy like an Austin Martin who gives you about a 340 on base. Cody Clemens has been able to give you 18 plus home runs. Brooks Lee, 15 plus bombs. Clemens, Lee, these are two guys hitting between about a 240, 250. Josh Bell, since June 1st, has been able to give you over a 330 on base. You've been able to have Trevor Larnach be able to give you over a 370 on base. So I like what these guys are providing. Meanwhile, for the Kansas City Royals, this bunch has been much better at home rather than away from home with their offense, but still a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation. Bobby Witt Jr., Miguel Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino on the injury list. Now you've had Salvador Perez give you 5 plus home runs since the All-Star break, but it's also give you less than a 275 on base. Carter Jensen has been able to give you about a 330 on base, 14 plus home runs. Jack Caglione is up to 17 plus bombs. John Rave, Nick Lofton, they give you a little bit of something in terms of on base, but not a lot of power there, and both of these bullpens are still miserable. For the likes of Lucas Ursich, Alex Lang, Steven Cruz, Matt Strom, they're all posting up over a 450 ERA. Daniel Lynch has been solid for the Royals in the bullpen, but other than that, not great. And the Twins, they should be better moving forward with their bullpen. They pick up AJ Minter, that is going to be able to help them out quite a bit. Jeff Hoffman, it doesn't sound like much, but it's better than some of these schlubs like a Travis Adams, who's been posting up over a 4 ERA. I mean, Cody Funderburk has not been bad for this team. Yandres Gomez has actually been decent, but still it's a bottom 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA, but I just don't trust in the Royals to be able to get you the over. So, like the unders, I told you at 8.7, I'm willing to lay it with the Twins here, set them at a minus 142, 967, 968 on the card. It's the Astros are going to be playing us the Blue Jays, as Hayden Wesneski is on the bump for the Astros, and Trey Savage goes for the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays, you find themselves as a underdog here between plus 109 to a plus 112. Meanwhile, minus 130 to minus 135 is that number on Houston. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I do like the under. It's somebody told at 8.2. Have a Blue Jays team that's 29th out of 30 teams in terms of run creation, so that's been a little bit rough there. And for Trey Savage, he is going to need to tame the walks. He's still got okay swing and miss stuff. He's getting a little bit over 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, not where it was last season, coming off of injury. The 4.4 walks per 9 innings are an issue, but 3.73 ERA with 1 home run allowed per 9 innings has been better on the road with a 3.28 road ERA. And Hayden Wesneski, he's making just his 8th start in 2 seasons with the Houston Astros. Overall 4.54 ERA, 4.59 fielding, dependent with 1.7 home runs per 9 innings since joining the Astros. Now, the Astros bullpen has been great recently. Entering into Monday, since June 1st, they have been 3rd in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Getting back Josh Hader has made all the difference. Now, Brian King, a little bit over a 3.50 ERA out of he, along with AJ Blueball, but they have been much improved throughout the season. Brian Abreu has still been a little bit of an issue along with Daniel De Los Santos, but still, it's a Astros bunch. They were able to add a few small pieces at the deadline, so I do think that they're going to be solid moving forward. Steven Okert has been solid for the team, and then you take a look at this Astros lineup, you're still going to need a little bit more on the outfield. They do acquire Dalton Varsho, ironically enough, for the Blue Jays, so he's going to be able to go there, but I think these guys like Zach Cole, Bryce Matthews is currently on the injury list, Lamont Wade Jr., you've got a lot of mix-and-match outfielders that are running well below a 225. Cam Smith has been able to give you a little bit of power, but he's hitting below 225. Jeremy Pena, though, hitting well above 300. He's starting to get some power going. Isaac Paredes up to a 350 on base. Christian Walker strikes out a lot, but he's giving you 20-plus home runs, and Yordan Alvarez has been perhaps the best hitter in the American League, 35 bombs, over a 400 on base. Flip side for the Blue Jays, you've got Kazuma Okamoto, who's been able to give you some solid power, 24 home runs this year. He is the lone guy on the roster with over 12 home runs. George Springer was not moved at the deadline. He's got 12 bombs, and these were the lone 2 guys on the starting lineup yesterday with over 8 home runs. So that's a little bit of an issue. Now, Ernie Clement moves the line, hitting about a 290. Nathan Luke's about a 275. Tiger Jr., 6 home runs this year. Like, holy crud. Not been good, but they've got AC Sanchez back as well. And it's a Blue Jays team that they did trade away a few pieces at the deadline, but you still have Louis Varland along Tyler Rogers to be able to headline that bullpen. Both have been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. They trade away Jeff Hoffman again. That's not going to hurt the team. Spencer Miles has been solid out of this bullpen, so I do think that you can take a shot here on the Blue Jays at plus money. Set them at a minus 1.4, so I do like the Blue Jays on the money line. I like the under, so I'm going to tell it at 8.2. 969, 970 on the card. It is the Mariners. They are going to be playing us to the Detroit Tigers. Right now, it is to be determined for the Tigers. It's to be determined for Seattle. Plus 130 is what I'm seeing on Detroit. Minus 154 for the Seattle Mariners. I'm right now seeing a total of an 8.5. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And boy, if we get that total, I don't care who's pitching in this game because it's out there in Seattle. I'm going to be in on the under. With projecting Troy Melton going up against Emerson Hancock in this one, I was setting a total of a 6.9. Now, that's subject to a whole heck of a lot of change because, and again, even if the Tigers are going with some of their lesser guys, bullpen has been significantly better recently. They have been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, so they've been able to improve there. The Seattle Mariners, they continue to be a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. And for the Mariners, they made a few moves at the trade deadline, not a whole heck of a lot. That really changes my opinion of them right now. I mean, bring in Seranthony Dominguez to help out the bullpen, which yip-de-doo there, but Gabe Spire, Edward Bizardo, Jose Ferrer, these have all been guys who have been able to do a rock-solid job with a sub-3.25 ERA. Even a guy like a Nick Devilla, even though he hasn't been amazing, he's been able to give you some relatively solid innings as well. For the Mariners, what has really just been ailing this team has been the lineup. They have been a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. Big jumper Cal Raleigh has had a few home runs since the All-Star break, but still hitting below $1.75. You've been able to have quite a few guys just sort of in that neighborhood of like 14 to 16 home runs. Randy Rosarena, Cole Young, Julio Rodriguez, Luke Raley, and for Rosarena, he's going to give you about a 375 on base, so that's been a nice positive for the team. Colt Emerson, who they invested quite a bit in, he has not been great. And Dom Canzone, 335 on base, 18 home runs this season. Can't complain about that. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Tigers, it's been just a little bit of a slog for some of these guys outside of your main hitters. Dylan Dingler has been incredible, 23 home runs. He's hitting at 270, and Spencer Torkelson does have 20 home runs this year, but he's hitting only for about a 220. Kerry Carpenter has been all sorts of banged up. Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, along with Gleyber Torres. These have all been guys that have been able to give you north of a 365 on base. As far as I saw, they really didn't move any of those guys. Javi Baez has been out of the fold for the entirety of this season, so that's been hurting this team a little bit. And then you got these mix and match guys towards the bottom of the lineup that are just give you absolutely nothing whatsoever. These guys like a Zach McKinstry, Matt Vierling, the backup catcher, and Jake Rogers, who I think they might have traded away as well. That's honestly a good thing for this lineup because, man, they've got a lot of guys that are not hitting. James Outman, I mean, these guys have really not been able to give you too much of anything whatsoever. Tigers have become more of a league average team with regards to their scoring, but I'd be willing to go up to a minus 143 with regards to the Seattle Mariners on the money line, so there's a little bit of subject to change there, and I would need at least plus 145 to take a shot on the Tigers, because for Emerson Hancock, he's been rock solid. 324 ERA, 376 fielding dependent, 1.1 home runs, 2.2 walks allowed per 9 innings. I feel like he's seen a little bit of regression here over the last month or two, but overall he's been able to do a rock solid job here for the Seattle Mariners. Seattle suppresses offense, so do like the under here for sure. Semi-total 6.8, minus 143 or better. Looking at the Mariners, plus 145 or better. The Tigers, 971, 972 on the card. It is the Mets. They're going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians, as Sean Manaea is on the bump for the Mets, and Joey Cantillo goes for Cleveland. Cleveland is a favorite of minus 130 to minus 142, plus 115 to a plus 125 is a number on New York. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even and minus 110, and on the Guardians, semi-total at a minus 133. Sean Manaea has not been awful this year. Certainly has not been great this year, but hey, for the Mets, anything that's not awful has been pretty solid. 4.42 ERA, 4.33 fielding dependent, 153 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9 innings, just a hair below 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. But the problem is what was actually a really good bullpen for the Mets, in my opinion. You trade away Brooks Raley, you trade away Luke Weaver, you trade away darn near everything for this team. Austin Warren has fallen down the toilet bowl, and Ioannidis currently on the injury list. So what are you going to be throwing out the bullpen now? Oscar Brisbane got traded, so Kodai Senga, Dan Duarte, Devin Williams, not great. Not great. And for the Mets, if you look at the lineup, not great. Not great. You've got Jared Young right now playing first base for this team. They kept Francisco Lindor. He's been having a terrible year. Bo Bichette is up to about a 250. He's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers. Luis Robert has been a waste of money for many, many years. Carson Bench is hitting about a 260 with about 12 home runs. You've had Francisco Alvarez at about a 250 as well, but boy, not great to say the least. Brett Beatty has not been able to do anything whatsoever. And for Cleveland, I mean, they've been dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation. They got a few pieces at the deadline. Nathaniel Lowe, he's been able to give you something. Joel setting fire to the rain. These guys should be available for this game. And then have Jose Ramirez coming off of injury. He's only been able to give you about a 330 to a 340 on base, but he should be able to pick things up a little bit. Austin Hedges is actually giving you north of 325 on base. Brian Rocchio, along with Chase Lauder, over a 340 on base. Certainly still a rough lineup, but Steven Kwan been moving the line a little bit more for the Guardians top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Craig Yoho is a guy that they picked up from the Milwaukee Brewers, and I think that he's got some upside. 3 ERA out of him. We've seen Eric Sabrowski see that ERA come up a little bit, but Hunter Gaddis, sub 325 ERA. Kate Smith has been relatively solid as well, and I do think that the Guardians do go out there and dominate this game, even though Joey Cantillo has been giving up over 4 walks per 9 innings, right around about a 388 ERA, fielding dependent, in line with that. I do like the over here because I do think that the Guardians get to that bad bullpen, and I like the way that they revamp that lineup. So in on the over and up to a minus 132 is what I'm going to lay on Cleveland. 973, 974 on the card. The Cincinnati Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on to the road facing off against the Athletics. JT Gin and Juice is on the bum for the Athletics, and Brady Singer hopes to have the Athletics singing the blues. Minus 130 to minus 142. That number on Cincinnati, anywhere between plus 110 to plus 125. That number on the Athletics, 9 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110, and I'm going to be in on the over. Semi-total 9.2 for the Athletics. Holy crud! North of a 6.40 bullpen ERA since June 1st. And it didn't get any better with the trade deadline. Yeah. And for JT Ginn, this is going to be his first start in a little bit over 2 weeks. 3.47 ERA, but he has given up the 4 walks per 9 innings. Fielding independent is above a 4, and he gives up 1 to 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. So he's been able to do a relatively suitable job there, but you still do have to have your question marks with regards to that. And then again, who in this bullpen are you really trusting in other than Hogan Harris? Like, they couldn't even move these guys at the trade deadline. You've got Elvis Alvarado, Jose Suarez, Luis Medina, so many guys that are posting up an ERA above a 4 that it's not even funny. And for the Athletics, and it's just a mash unit. Jacob Wilson is right now dealing with an injury. Nick Kurtz, he might not be able to play in this series. Zach Olof is right now dealing with an injury. Tyler Soderstrom says June 1st, he's been able to give you like a 400 plus on base. He's up to 17 home runs. So that's a little bit good for this team, but man, Lawrence Butler is not really giving you too much. You've seen Carlos Cortez start to toilet bowl a little bit, still giving you about a 340 on base, so he's been able to give you a bit of something there, but I mean, with all these guys that are dealing with some injuries, Henry Bolte has not been impressive recently. That's a bit of an issue, and on the flip side for the Cincinnati Reds, they did trade away a few pieces, like Nathaniel Lowe is no longer in the fold. They've been dealing with the injury to Spencer Steer, so that's been hurting them a little bit, but JJ Bleday, nearly a 350 on base, 17 plus home runs. Obviously, you've got Ellie De La Cruz, 350 on base, 17 plus home runs. runs. Cousin Sal Stewart, 23 home runs. He's been solid. Tyler Stevenson has been on the come up a little bit. These guys like Matt McClain, TJ Friedel towards the bottom of the fold, Avoli Marte, they haven't been giving you too much. And for the bullpen, it has been a bit of an issue for this team. You've got the likes of Emilio Pagan, Pierce Johnson, Zach McKembley. These guys posting up well above a 4.50 ERA, but DJ Antone, Brock and Roll Burke, they've been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA, and Brady Singer has been significantly better recently. You look at the season numbers, they're not good to say the least. Right now for Mr. Singer, he's posting up an ERA in that neighborhood about a 4.35, 5.17 field dependent, 1.8 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings, but 3 earned runs for fear allowed in 10 out of his last 11 starts. Set the Reds 0 to minus 152, so I'm going to be in on the money line, and at a 9, I'm going to take a shot on the over. Semi-total at a 9.2, 975, 976 on the card. It is the Cardinals. They're going to be on the road against the New York Yankees. We should be getting Ryan Weathers here for the New York Yankees. Right now, it's a little undecided for the Cardinals. Plus 140 to plus 145 is that number on them. Right around minus 165 for the Yankees. 8.5 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. And at first, I was projecting Dustin May. He then got traded to the Milwaukee Brewers. So if you're looking at Hunter Dobbins starting, which I'm seeing right now, plus 149 or better, I'll be in on the Cardinals on the money line. We saw these numbers get steamed up to high noon. Now the Cardinals did trade away a few pieces. Lars Nootbaar, I mentioned Dustin May. They trade away Jojo Romero, but Jojo Romero was on the injury list to start with. For the Cardinals, they were light sellers, so you're still going to have a lot of these guys that you all know and love. So Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt, between about a 340 to a 350 on base, but giving you 15 plus home runs. They're in the fold for this team. You've been able to get really good production on Jordan Walker, who's been able to give you 20 plus home runs, and this is a team that's averaging over 5 runs per game away from home. That is a top 5 mark in all of baseball. The bullpen, it actually got a little bit better with picking up Caleb Ferguson from the Reds, who's been giving you about a 4 ERA. Goran Gasefo's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. You still have Riley O'Brien, George Soriano in that bullpen. And for the New York Yankees, this team has been number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA for much of the season. Likes of Fernando Cruz, David Bednar, throw in there Paul Blackburn, even Brent Hedrick. These guys have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. For the Yankees' last 35 games, they've been averaging less than 3.5 runs per game. They should have upgraded the catcher spot. Austin Wells has been absolutely terrible. Jazz Chisholm gives you 15 plus home runs, but he's hitting for less than a 300 on base. Ryan McMahon is not really moving the line. Cody Bellinger is on the injury list. Yasan Dominguez has not been great. They pick up Eloy Ramos. That should be help them out a little bit, and I like the pickup of Luis Garcia. 20 plus home runs, but you do have to have your question marks with this offense, especially with Paul Goldschmidt having his issues. Ben Rice, he could give you 30 plus home runs, and he's been able to get on base, but even he has seen a little bit of a downtick recently as well. And for Ryan Weathers, it's been a case where in the second half of the season, things have just really toilet bowled on him, because the swing and miss stuff is very much there for him. He's getting right in the neighborhood about 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.3 home runs, 2.6 walks allowed per 9 innings, and really ever since the beginning of the month of June, that ERA has gone to about a 5 plus. So that has been a big giant issue for him. And what I noticed for him is that it just feels like a lot of his bad starts do come at home as well. This is very common for a lot of these Yankees pitchers because of the short porch you've got out there. 450 home ERA. He's given up 11 home runs in 64 innings at home, 6 bombs in 51 innings, and a 335 ERA away from home. So plus 149 or better, I'm going to be in on the Cardinals. Even though Hunter Dobbins can be a little bit of a mixed bag, he's way up from his season last year where he was only getting about 6.5, 7 strikeouts per 9 innings when he was over with the Boston Red Sox. This season, he's cranked up the swing and miss stuff, and the command has went downward a little bit as well. For Dobbins, right now he's supplying a ERA of a 3.74, 3.81 fielding dependent, 2.9 walks, 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, gives up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. Willing to trust in him with this big number, and I do like the over of 8.5 or less. I did set my total at 8.7, and with Cardinals again, plus 149 or better in on them, minus 147 or better looking at the Yankees. 977, 978 on the card. It is the Giants. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers. We do know that Mackenzie Gore is going to be on the bump for the Texas Rangers. Right now, it is looking like Blade Tidwell is going to be getting the start for the Giants. It is right now listed as to be determined. This is a game that's totally off the board, and right now for the Texas Rangers, minus 198 is that opening number on them, plus 166 on the Giants with a total of 7.5. The over is minus 120, and the under is even money, and I'd be willing to take a shot here on the Giants as long as I can get that plus 166 or better. I did set this at a plus 165. For the Rangers, they did make some upgraded moves at the trade deadline, but still, you do have to have a little bit of question mark with Mackenzie Gore because he does have some command issues. Now, for Mackenzie Gore, he has been significantly better at home rather than away from home. That does need to be pointed out, but still, a 40-70 ERA, much better 380 fielding, dependent the 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's been solid, but again, he is giving up 1.2 home runs, 3.2 walks, per 9 innings. At home this season, that goes down significantly, 3.61 ERA at home, but a 4.79 ERA away from home. And in terms of home runs allowed per 9 innings, he's actually giving up more at home rather than away from home. Now, I threw in there Blade Tidwell as the projected starter for the Giants because we just have no idea who's going. It's probably going to be a mix and match sort of situation. He's a guy that hasn't pitched at the big league level since like very, very late April. So this could be pretty much just a poo-poo platter of pitchers sort of game for the Giants. You have to think that perhaps like a Keaton Wynn, who's been able to fill a few innings for the team, he's probably going to be on call for this team. You've got Caleb Killian, who is a little bit of a long guy for the team, getting traded away as well. So at this point, it's just a big giant mix and match. Adrian Hauser, I think, is going to be contributing in this as well, who's been really good coming out of the bullpen. Awful as a starter, really good coming in out of the bullpen. JT Brubaker is a former starter. He's able to give you a sub 350 ERA. And for the Giants, they did trade away Eloy Ramos at the trade deadline, but you still have Jung-Ho Lee, who's been able to hit right around about a 300. Obviously, Luis Ariz is now out for the team, and having some of these young guys like Victor Barricado, that hurts the team. They got Marcel Meyer as well, but he's a guy that's on the injured list. But Oselvis Bosby was able to hit a pair of home runs in that series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Bryce Eldridge continue to give you about a 350 on base. Rafael Devers has been a little bit better for the team recently. I mean, you have Willie Adames, who's been able to give you 18 home runs, but less than a 285 on base. So I do think that there's going to be a little bit of question mark there. And for the Rangers, I do feel like this is a offense that's starting to turn the corner a little bit. They played like 13 out of their last 19 games to the over. A big reason why it's been Wyatt Langford hitting at 275 with a double-figure amount of homers. Getting back Corey Seager's hit below 200 this year, I think that we see some positivity with him here moving forward. Brandon Nimmo continues to move the line. Ezekiel Duran, don't call his name, Alejandro Azuna, a whole bunch of guys hitting between like a 255 to a 270. Jake Berger, 18 plus home runs, but not a lot of on base. Jock Peterson, 19 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 340 on base. For the Rangers, they have been a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, but you pick up Chase Silseth to be able to fortify that bullpen. Jacob Latz, Tyler Alexander, even Peyton Gray, these guys have been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. So interesting circumstance here. Plus 166 or better. I'm in on the Giants on the money line. It's sort of a bullpen game, and if we do get that 7.5, like the over. Somebody told it at 8.1. Wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. It is going to be the Rays on the road against the Rockies. We do know that Gabriel Hughes is going to be going for Colorado. Looks like Freddie Peralta should be getting the start for the Rays, and the Rays are listed at a minus 130 and plus 110 on the Colorado Rockies. Total of 11, over and under, both at minus 110. Set the Rays at a minus 156. Now, for Freddie Peralta, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible run for him, but I just think that going to Tampa Bay here is going to be able to do some good for him. He still has some relatively good swing and miss stuff. It's been a career low in terms of strikeouts for him, but 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings is nothing to sneeze at. He's got a 445 fielding, depending compared to a 499 ERA, and I think that he just needed to get the heck out of New York. Like, holy crud, that was not good for him, because you just take a look at the way that things toilet bowled for him. He never had a run like this when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, you date it back to, we're going to call it the last 7 starts for him. You can even go a little bit further because, man, it's been up, down, all around for him. But in the last 7 starts, he has allowed 27 earned runs, 33 in total, and 30 and 2/3 innings. Yeah, not great to say the least. And Gabriel Hughes is actually an upside guy. I like what he is doing for the Colorado Rockies. He's made 5 total appearances, 3.33 ERA, fielding dependent. That's been even lower. He has yet to give up a home run. Not necessarily a superpower pitcher at 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but considering his own ballpark, his scores, that's honestly not too shabby. But that said, still have to have a lot of question marks with regards to the Rockies and what they're going to surround him with, because they trade away Antonio Senzatella, Victor Vodnik. Now you got Jane Hill, Juan Mejia. These guys are posting up well above a 5 ERA. Zach Cognos has been absolutely terrible in this bullpen as well. Like, they were last in the National League in terms of bullpen area with the Washington Nationals to start with, and now it's even worse. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, you've got a nice lineup involving Jonathan Aranda, Yandy Diaz, both give you over a 365 on base, 14 to 15 home runs apiece. You got Junior Caminero, give you about a 370 on base, 30 home runs. Chandler Simpson, 27 stolen bases, hitting darn near 300. Richie Palacios is a guy that's able to move the line. Nick Fortes is hitting well for this team, so I absolutely love what I'm seeing there. And hey, for the Rockies, I think that they're going to put up runs. Hunter Goodman is a good man, 33 home runs. He's actually hit more home runs away from